speaker here. All right. So before we begin the user group, just a couple of minor details we want to make sure we cover. The agenda for today is we'll have a few housekeeping items. Then we're going to have three primary presenters. We're going to have Jan Sacco, who is our Ideate Software Support Manager and Quality Assurance Manager for Ideate Software. Then we have Sarah Troy, who is the Director of Operations with Modulus Consulting. She's going to share her expertise and some insight into using Ideate Bim Link. And then we have Tessa Colliers, who is of Genzer. She is the Associate BIM Manager out of the Los Angeles area, and she's going to be sharing a couple tips on using Ideate apps and talking about productivity within her group. And then we're going to try to make some time at the end so that there's open discussion, but we're also going to try to pause after each one of these primary presentations to see if there's any questions related to those that we can answer. And again, for those of you who are just joining, you have two ways to participate in today's presentation or today's user group. The first is you can always type in our question panel. My esteemed colleague Sash Kaziminajad is standing by to respond to you in writing. If you have a simple question, we can definitely do that. We'll also be pausing throughout, and you can unmute yourself to ask a question verbally if you'd like to do that, which we would love that. So just be aware that you can mute and unmute yourself. That is actually the primary housekeeping item that I wanted to make sure we covered. And really, this is actually our second ever online user group. We're going to try to be holding these every other month. And we would really love to make this as interactive as possible. We don't want to be the only ones speaking. And so we're very grateful to that end for those who have volunteered to present today. And so our guest speakers are shown in the order they're going to be speaking today. We have Jan Sacco from Ideate Software again, Support Manager and Quality Assurance. We have Sarah Troy, Director of Operations for Modulus, and we have Tessa Colliers from Genzer as well. So let's kick off here with a little poll just to make sure you're all awake and ready to be interactive with us. We'd like to have a poll first here about where you're calling in from today. So if you could just take a second to fill out the poll. Sash is going to be standing by to publish the results after we know where you're all coming from. We're assuming that the majority of you are coming from North America today, but
it's looking like that. We're about 75-78% have weighed in. We can't close a poll until everybody clicks, so we're going to be waiting a while.
Thanks, Sash. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll close it here in just a moment. Oh, nice. We had some changes here. All right, 5 more seconds. You have the opportunity to change your vote. All right, perfect. And here are the results. So we can see most of everybody on today's presentation is from North America, with a couple folks from the UK. Awesome. Wonderful. All right, Glenn, take it away.
All right, thanks, Sash. Appreciate it. All right, so for our first presenter, we've asked Jan Sacco to join us. Jan is our par excellence support manager, and we're so grateful to have him. And Jan, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and you can introduce yourself and talk about the problem you're going to be addressing today.
All right, thank you, Glynis. Again, thanks for the intro. As I was stated, my name is Jan. I'm been with Ideate for about almost 8 years, and if any of you have submitted a support case, we probably have interacted in the past. Most of the support cases that, or I should say, a lot of the support cases that we're seeing have to do with ease of install and deployment and licensing of our software. So we have decided to see if we can make your life easier and create a tool that would allow everyone, or all the, I should say, customers that would like to deploy Ideate Software throughout their organization to do this as easy as possible. So this thing I'm going to show you today is one of my babies here at Ideate, and hopefully if you guys haven't used it, you will give it a try. And if you have any feedback, again, please speak up or contact us later whenever you get to it. So Ideate Software Installer, it doesn't look like much by itself. The way you get to it is basically on our latest and greatest download page. We have actually two flavors of this. The first is the EXE bundle. I'm not going to show that one. It's a usual EXE with a UI where you can select the software you're installing. And the second part is this guy here, is the Ideate Software Installer zip. And what you get once you download this is basically a package of all the MSIs of the most recent release. So I'm keeping these updated whenever we release either the whole suite or just any of the products. I'll switch them. So if you ever need the latest release, you can be sure that what you download from there is the newest one. Now, what we did here is, hopefully to make it as easy as possible, we put them in one place, and then we built this little EXE which can do a few things. It can let you just run it and install everything locally. You could obviously put this on a shared drive in your company, and then either tell users where it is or give them a shortcut. And they can only install, and they will install the same version, and they will install it without needing to do anything else when it comes to licensing and version control and so on and so forth, which I'll show you in a moment how that works. And it of course comes with an FAQ, which means you will always know what to do with this thing. There are two really cool features I want to show you today, and one is the licensing setup. So a lot of our customers are migrating either from a FlexLM based local network to cloud, or from standalone licensing to cloud. And this may or may not be related to what Autodesk is doing with their FlexLM support. But we have had great success with cloud licenses, with our cloud license rollout. And as part of this, basically all the users in your organization need to be changed, right? So in one way, it's a good opportunity to bring everybody up to the latest release, which this thing will do by default. But we have also added the ability to set the licensing. So the way it's done, again, hopefully as simple as possible, we have a license.txt file where you either enter your server name if you're still at FlexLM. So it was at my server, and that's that. You save it, close it, and this thing, when you run it, will set the license for everyone the same way. Nothing else is needed. Or if you happen to have a cloud code, and you put the cloud code in here, and it knows to set the licensing for all the end user installations. The second thing it can do is version control, and you can create packages for different types of users. So as I said before, we have all the applications and all the versions. So there are some customers that would deploy, say, apps and Explorer and Sticky to everybody, but Style Manager and Bim Link maybe not to everybody. So you could create two different shortcuts or two different deployment packages depending on how are you pushing this out, and give different ones to different users. And you could use the same package, and it's done through switches or command line arguments, which is nothing new. I mean, they've been around since forever. What we can do here is we can do a skip, which basically tells you do not install Bim Link or do not install Style Manager or a skip year, meaning you could have some users that only have certain versions and only need certain versions. Now, the nice thing about this is that it doesn't really care what's on your computer already. So if you have a beta of anything, if you have a really old version of anything installed, it will just get rid of it and replace it with what is here. So again, this is a great tool to bring everybody up to this same release. That happens to be the latest, it's even better, but you will have all the users on the same version. Now I'm going to run this, but I don't think we need all the products. And so I'll just keep Sticky and Style Manager. It doesn't look like much as such. It's just a CLI basically. So there's no UI to it. It doesn't do anything else. And obviously you can hide this if you run it with a silent switch. So it takes a few seconds per product, per version. And of course you can just get rid of the ones you don't need. And if you're still using 2017s or some of the older ones, you can just pop them in here and they will work. Now, they won't work with Cloud Network, but FlexLM is definitely supported as far back as 2018 right now. So that is that was my part.
That's great. Yeah.
I hope I didn't miss anything. And if you have any questions, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great, Jan. Thanks. I'll take the presentation back over. Sash, do we have any questions that we should field at this point?
Hi, Glennis. Not at this moment. And I sent a reminder to the audience, if you guys have any questions related to what Jan has shown or what any of the demonstrations or anything about Ideate Software products, be sure to type them in the questions pane.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a short poll, and then we're going to segue to our guest speaker, Sarah Troy. But before we do that, Sash, if you could run the next poll, which is about using this software and of whether anybody would want that assistance with that.
Let's see here, Glennis, real quickly. The second poll says, which would you like to create with Ideate Bim Link?
Oh,
so I don't know
yeah, that's okay. Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? Then no question on that. You get a pass on that. It's probably in the survey, actually, now that I think about it. So there will be a question in the survey as you exit. If anybody that's an existing customer, would like help with learning more about the deployment, please just let us know and we'll follow up with you afterwards. All right. So with that, we're going to pivot and turn our presentation over to Sarah Troy. Sarah is the Director of Operations at Modulus Consulting, and she's going to talk with us about a kind of a fun and unique problem that she's been solving that involves the use of Ideate Bim Link. And Sarah, if you want to explain the problem, that would be great.
Thank you, Glennis. Thank you, Sash, for inviting Modulus Consulting to present today. For those of you who don't know us, we're a BIM consulting team. We provide services such as modeling, FM delivery, 3D coordination, reality capture, or point clouds. Yeah, today we're going to showcase the workflow we developed for a design team's code compliance sheet regarding grade planes. And Glennis, thank you. This is an overview of the steps, but I have a video to show you the workflow. We have created a text type. We're going to use Bim Link to export those text values. We have created a macro in Excel that formats it, and then we use Sticky to put it right back on the sheet. So Glynis, could I have presentation abilities?
Yes, ma'am. There you go.
Thank you. And I am hopefully showing a similar screen.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well, you're showing Revit right now.
I am. Perfect. Perfect. I'm going to play. So this was a manual process for the team. They wanted to show their work to the building code. So the average grade calculation is intense with various points and side lengths. So we try to help them streamline that a bit. A text type is created and it's distinguished with this suffix grade plane. And the intent is this text type is only used on this sheet. We again ask Bim Link to export those values. You can set a Bim Link to export text notes, and you'll see that in the filters, you're able to say, hey, just give me the text types that have a grade plane in their type name. So we know we're getting the text values that we want. We export that. And this is where the macro comes in. You'll see an Excel pop up on the right that has a blue box. And that's my macro file, which I'm calling an engine here. But my raw data is on the left from Bim Link, and my macro is on the right. And we just have some basic instructions in the macro to give the user some guidance. And it's a Control-Shift-R command that pulls that raw data from the Bim Link export into the macro. And you'll see the macro format and sort our text values as we want to see them, as we want to show the calculations for the average grade plane and code compliance. And that is the sheet that we link using Sticky back onto the sheet down below. So there's some advantages to this workflow, like all user skill sets can participate in this workflow. You didn't need to be an expert in topography or maybe very exact in your spot elevation annotation. Not being live has, I think, some real advantages with code compliance sheets, as you don't want any unforeseen errors. And it also gives you the ability to only have to review this sheet when it's going out for errors, and not a constant concern that, you know, that something shift, a new background came in and things change a bit. The only manual input is at the very beginning, which I think helps target if you see an error, you know kind of exactly where you should look first. And then also we utilize the IT department, their knowledge, their skill set to participate in a project, which is not done often and was very successful. So that was the workflow. Thank you all for letting me show that to you.
Thanks so much, Sarah. That was really very, very compelling and interesting to me. I know we've been fortunate enough to see a lot of really interesting uses of data from groups like yours, like Modulus, who are solving, you know, unique problems. And in this case, that it's a very specific sort of code compliance problem. Does anybody else on the call in the group today have an example of where they're dealing with very specific, you know, city or other regulations and code compliance, and they've used data through Bim Link or Sticky, as you're showing here, to address those kinds of challenges? You can always unmute yourself if you want to speak up. Thought I'd throw that out there.
Nancy. Looks like Nancy McClure.
Oh, nice.
Nancy, you've unmuted yourself. Do you have any anything you want to share with the audience related to extracting Bim Link data for code compliance? Maybe
Can you folks hear me now?
Yeah.
Now we
Yeah.
Okay. I always have to unplug my headset. I really appreciate seeing this flow because we do a lot of steps where we're exporting out the data using Bim Link, but then oftentimes the processing can be a bit complex. So I really appreciate seeing using a external spreadsheet to the data export with a macro built into it. So I'm really curious to see how we could utilize that.
Thanks.
Plumbing calculations is what I'm thinking of.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we actually have, we do have a sample. We have actually a number of Excel templates that we provide to anybody who's a Bim Link customer can request them from our support team. And we do have one for plumbing. We have one for occupancy. We have one for document issue records, like revision schedules. I'm sure there's more, but those are ones that come to mind where the data is being sort of lightly or intensely processed, either on a second worksheet, which is what Sarah is doing here, or actually within a single worksheet on tab 2, you could do the processing. So wonderful. All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to make myself presenter again here, if I can remember where I do that. Let's see. Okay. All right, and Sash, before we go on, any other written questions we should proceed with or answer?
Not at the moment. Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, let's. We're going to do another poll. This one is just about Bim Link, and it's something we've been asking ourselves lately. Bim Link, as you may know, can be used to create. A lot of people use it to edit data, which is what Sarah was doing, but it also can be used to actually create things. So we'd love to hear from you all through this poll. What are the things that you would like to be able to create or have created already with Bim Link? This is multiple choices are available, so you can pick as many as you want. We find ourselves constantly adding to the list of things that we support. I know quite recently we had some of our mechanical customers said, hey, we would like to take the room coordinate data, for example, and use that data to create all the spaces at once in a 10-story building. And so we did actually enable that particular workflow based on that kind of request. So any of these things are possible, and if you don't see what is interesting to you, we would love to know. At a later date, you can contact us, or you can, in the exit survey, you can let us know what else would you like to create. So Sash, whenever you're ready, you can publish out the results.
I'm going to wait just another 20 seconds. We're about a little over half voted, so I think people are thinking about this, which is really nice. The spread on this is looking exciting. So we're at 54%. I'm going to wait just another 20 seconds, and then I'll share the results with the audience. Don't be afraid to, it's not really a vote, but to weigh in on this.
Exactly.
All right, we're getting somewhere. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and close. All right, and let's see the results here. This is really nice. So we can see here that more than half the folks that weighed in are doing or creating sheets or placeholder sheets, which is a workflow that one of our customers demoed yesterday, which was really nice to see. Yeah, the unplaced room spaces or areas, that's another great one, especially for those that are doing any sort of programming ahead of time and, inputting all this data, working with a client, especially on rooms, and then you need a way to push this information into rooms. Creating unplaced rooms is really helpful for that purpose. And then, yeah, the model elements like survey points, that's another big one. And Richard Taylor recently put out a nice blog post on getting some of the survey point data, and you saw Sarah Troy's presentation just now on the work that she was doing. And then key schedule data for those of you that are still manually inputting key schedule data or creating the rows manually, you can actually do all that through Excel and Bim Link and pull that info in. Even if you're creating code tables to reference from, consider using Bim Link. And then new types. That's another big one where Bim Link can create new types for your loaded families, which is really helpful as well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You know, I realized, Sash, I'm sure I forgot a couple things on this poll, but one of the other things kind of adjacent to key schedules that was definitely a user request not too long ago was revision sequences. So
Absolutely.
Just like key schedules where you can have, you know, additional rows of data, you can create from, you know, from thin air, from an Excel file, revision sequences. And the reason people want to do that is primarily because in a project that involves multiple Revit files, you can basically export, you know, the content from one file, the revision sequences from one file, and then replicate them very easily with the description and the relevant dates and the sequence numbers and so forth. So it really makes it easy to be consistent across multiple files, even if those files are from the people you're collaborating with. They don't have to be, you know, it could be a shell and core situation, but it also could be, you know, the consultants that you're working with, and it's a great way to synchronize that data. So, all right, thank you very much for that. And now we're going to turn to our last guest speaker today, Tessa Colliers, who is the Associate BIM Manager at Genzer. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and make you presenter if that's okay.
That's perfect. Thank you.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so let me put my slide. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so today I'll be touching base on the Ideate apps, some of them, and first of all, they are all amazing. Bim Link is one of my favorite ones, but today I wanted to present a little bit more on the apps, which some of you may or may not have used these ones. So one of the ones that is really interesting is like the sheet manager. Many of us have created sheets manually and actually place the legends manually because you can't copy them, and you know, copy paste from other sheets, any annotation or a legend, not a legend, but maybe you have some drafting views in there and you want to put them in there for symbols or other things that depending on your standards. So sheet manager, it's under the kind of blue colors of Ideate apps, and I'm going to show you, hopefully if time permits, a live demonstration. But if you have made up your sheets, put the proper title block, and in this case we have a symbol, annotation symbol, because that one is one that you can copy and it behaves like a legend, and then we have a legend with notes. These are two different workflows, maybe the way you do it in your firm or not. But most of us have used legends, and we know that you can't copy paste them from one sheet to another. With this tool, you can, I put these two examples in here so you can see that you can actually copy to other sheets in the same location those. So once you run Sheet Manager, you'll be able to copy the symbol and then copy a legend on your sheets and set up consistently your sheets. The other one I wanted to show, it's Align. Many of us have dragged in from Revit our views and found out that as much as we try, they don't land in the same place, like old-fashioned drafting that you used to draw with vellum, and you will put the vellum one on top of the other and you want them perfectly in the same location. I've seen some users that they draw lines, they measure, they move. Others that know the grid button in Revit, they had used that, but it's a manual move in. However, with Ideate, they have made it really, really simple that you can hopefully put one in the beautiful location in your sheet, and all the other ones that you have, you will have to just select your sheet that you're gonna be matching, and then select by checking boxes in you will just select the boxes. So first of all, you will say which sheet you want to align or use as a template to align the other ones. Then you can text search your criteria. For example, if you have like floor plans that are like the 100 series for your floor plan, or 200 series for your RCPs, or 300 series for power plans, you will just type in this box to find the criteria of the sheets that you want to match the layout of the one that you selected. You will check your boxes, and once and uncheck the ones you don't need to align, and then hit align. So once you do that, you will have perfectly aligned floor plans. You will have your symbol and legend in all of them if you decide to use these two buttons. And with that, you have beautifully like set up sheets. The other thing I wanted to show is the clone add-in that we have in Ideate. And this one is if you know that your sheet is going to be identical to the one you are using as a template, you will directly use, instead of using these two buttons, you will just certainly use the clone button. It gives you a lot of options. So you will first select the sheet you want to match, and then it's going to detect every single view that it is in that sheet set up, and you have the opportunity to say, do you want to just copy it, or if it's a plan view, you just want to create a new view and with no annotation. So for example, from a floor plan, you want to use it as a base to be your furniture plan, and then your power plan, you can just go ahead and duplicate with detail or without detail, or even apply a template that you had already curated previously. Once you do these three little steps over here, you tell basically to each of the views in this view, in this sheet, what to do with each view. If you want to clone it, if you want to duplicate it with detail or without detail, if you want to apply any kind of template on it, then you just hit the clone button, and you will have a perfectly matching sheets, and you will be ready to start your work. This workflow has worked really, really beautiful in our workflow, because it helps us save tons of time on the forefront of setting up sheets, making them consistent, and making sure that we have all the information we need for those types of plans. And basically, you can use this for any kind of viewing. We have used it for 3D views. Maybe you are setting up different schemes in your project, and you want to show an axle, a floor plan, an elevation. You set up that sheet, and then you want to put all your design schemes. Maybe you have 3 in the same way. It's a really great way of doing this. And with that, work smart, not hard. Thanks for listening. I want to check on time. I know we have a large agenda. Okay, so let's see. Any questions?
Tessa, not at this moment. I don't see any questions related to the Ideate apps demo that you showed. So yeah, proceed.
Okay, so we have a sheet, right? I'm using the Autodesk sample just because confidentiality. I can't just use any kind of our projects. But in this one, we have a typical sheet. We have 2 floor plans, and if we want to set up our sheet manager, we will just go over there. And first, you'll have to select from here, let's say legend we're looking, and make sure your naming conventions are somehow straightened in your teams. So we're just gonna look for LGD, which stands for legend, and I am gonna click on floor plans. I'm gonna select the floor plan that I wanna duplicate from and or create similar to that one. And then hit this create sheets right here. And we can see here we're taking as a sample the 101 sheet. We wanna include this legend in here, and it also gives us an option at this upper right-hand corner if you wanna copy the annotations. In this particular one, this is annotation symbol. So I will tell, please copy the line work on this sheet. So once I do that, it's telling me that it can't put that floor plan in there because they're in a different sheet, but it created the new sheet right here. And we're gonna place the legend and the annotations in that one. So it's a great way of doing that. For aligning, we can just go ahead and I think I have a couple floor plans in here. So let's say I'm just going to bring a floor plan in here and just don't care about where it is located in the sheet. And to use our second Ideate software, we're going to go to the Sheet Manager Align. That's our second one. And first, we're going to make sure we pick the floor plan we want to use as a sample. So we want to use 101, and we want to say what level. This top one is the level 1, so we want to align to that one, and we want this floor plan to be aligned. So what that's going to do is bring it XYZ location. So if you put these two one on top of the other, they're going to be perfectly located. This is a great way of just making sure you can line in pieces of your sheets or the whole sheet by the third icon here, clone. So we're gonna first, it's gonna ask you, it's asking 104. So I just have to make it the active view, the one that I wanna copy from. And I wanna do, okay, I wanna clone this sheet. I want it exactly the same. And then it's gonna tell you, is this the sheet number you want? You can say this is your 500 series or whatever your standards in your company is. Then it's going to ask you, what do you want to do with each of these views? So for level 1, we want to duplicate with detailing. For level 2, I'm just going to say a simple duplicate, no detail, and then use the legends that we have in here. I'm just going to say clone. It's going to create that sheet for us, and it's going to be identical to the one we have in there. So you can see how you can streamline the process very, very quickly. This is not limited to floor plans. You can do this for sections, 3D views, etc. And with that, I would say work smart, not hard. Make it easy on you. There's a lot of work, and it's better invested in doing what a computer cannot do, right? Like the thinking process, design process, invest that time with your family as well. So that's it.
Love that. Thank you so much. That's great. Do we have any questions related to Tesla's presentation here? I had one idea, but I want to turn on it again. Anybody can unmute themselves if you want to ask it verbally, or you can type it in and Sash can read it out loud.
Yeah, we did just get a question in, and the question is, when you are duplicating sheets, does it create new views for each plan? And how do you organize a naming convention for each new view?
Oh, yes. I didn't show that, but there is a very sophisticated system. There's also the view creator, which you can specify specifically. I didn't show that one, but you can basically create your views with very specific naming conventions. So if you have a typical prefix or suffix in each of your company standards, you can use that other tool that Ideate provides. However, when you duplicate it, it will have it, when you clone it specifically, it will have the same name and would just have like the number 1 or 2, depending how many times you clone it after.
That's great, thank you. I actually, if you don't mind, I just grab the screen here. I'll just show an example of what Tessa just said. Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, so there is the other tool called View Creator, and View Creator is very much oriented towards the naming conventions and so forth. So an example of using View Creator was, let's say I've got these duct plans. Maybe I want to create some piping plans, as an example. Or actually, what I'll do is I'll recreate these because I know these have a nice view type already set up. So if I have one discipline here set up, View Creator is very much oriented to handling, discipline things, or even just like working plans or creating marketing plans or different scaled kinds of plans. So in this example, we could say, I've got my HVAC plans, and I'm going to type in here and look for them because I've got a lot of plans, right? And they're actually down in here. So I'm going to grab these 3 and I can duplicate them. And I can use, there's some tools down here in the lower right to change the names, but I can also use these sort of rule-based systems to impact the name. So for example, I could change it to, plumbing, right? And it actually, in this particular rule, it's simply just saying, give me the name of the discipline and make that part of my name. Or I can come down here and say it's a function of what level it's on and also what type it is. So I could, and even like the view template. So I could say if my goal was to do lighting, maybe I'll come down here and do lighting as a template that I want to apply, and then I could just replace the word copy here and then put in lighting, or I could be more sophisticated if I want to. So there's a lot of ways that you can use these to create new views, and you can see them down here that I just created. Oops, maybe those aren't the ones I created. I'm not sure where I created them. Well, let's see what we got here. Nope, those are not the ones I just created.
Glynis, you didn't apply the override, the naming override. You just created the views without applying.
But I actually, the naming thing, both in Tesla's example of cloning, or in the mistake that I just made, one of the things that's great here through the sheet manager, there's a lot of different things you can do. And in this example, I'm just going to find, oh, this is case sensitive. Nope. This is probably me. We're using our Ideate software. Oh, those are not my sheets. Sorry. Thank you for keeping me honest. All right. So here's the ones I just made. They're just, so what I wanted to show you is we have functions, and this is a relatively new function that a lot of people don't know about, but we do have the option to select either sheets or views and rename them. And then when you do that, you're going to get back to the same kind of user interface where you can do batch renaming or suffixing something. So I could come in here, and again, I could find the copy and replace it with lighting, which was what I really meant to do. And I can do it to individual ones, or I can do it to all of them. And I can also fill out title and sheet. So there's a great way to kind of come back in and make those kinds of changes. And same thing over here on the right-hand side. Let's say I use this sort of number scheme with all of these sheets, the L, And I realized at some point that that was not the right number scheme that I wanted. And it was supposed to have a dot or something like that. So you can come in here and make really simple changes. And again, you can, if you check here, then it's going to apply to all of them, or you can do them individually and be on your way. So there's a lot of different ways to sort of manage those things if you've made a mistake, as I did. Are there any other questions, Sash, that we want to?
Yes, we got all sorts of good ones that came in. So stay on the sheet manager software.
Okay.
So let's start with the question, when you're duplicating sheets, does it create new views for each plan?
Ah, okay.
So, and the way I answered that one is it depends. So as Tessa kind of demoed, when she hit the duplicate or the clone tool, she opted to take the existing views on there and duplicate one with detailing and duplicate the other just as no detailing.
Right.
But you can also do a swap out. So Glennis will show you this right here. So in place of that north level lighting one, she could pick a piping plan to do the swap out, and we'll align it in the same XY coordinates, of that existing view that she's doing a swap out with. So that's the power of this program. Really huge use case, especially for the MEP folks, or let's say they're doing mechanical and plumbing on in one file, and they have a bunch of mechanical sheets. Now they want to kind of clone those into plumbing sheets. That's a great way to do that kind of workflow.
Excellent. And the example I just showed, what we offer up as things that can be swapped by default is anything that is the same kind of view and is the same scale. So while this does actually look a little bit different, it's simply because this one was cropped and this one is not. The piping plan doesn't have a reduced area, but it is actually in the exact same spot from a model coordinate standpoint. So they are aligned in that sense. They just the views happen to not be cropped in the same way. Of course, applying a scope box would probably be the better thing in that particular case.
Awesome. And then we got another one. This is actually for Tessa. What is the other favorite Ideate software application that you like to use?
Well, my favorite is Bim Link. I use Bim Link for everything. If I can schedule it, I can Bim Link it. So I use it for occupancy plans that are paired with a color plan, and I manipulate the room parameters with it. I love it for sheet indexes because I don't have to type all my consultants' sheets and just create them. So for door schedules, I am very, very careful. Doors are very, very specific to the location and all the recipe and the hardware that it needs to, but I love to use it when like the finish of the hollow metal doors or the finish of the hollow metal frames, because it's it always asks you, if you do it in Revit, it asks you that question: do you really want to change this because it's a type parameter? And your answer is yes, and you happen to be clicking and clicking and clicking thousands of times, and if you add it up, it's like a crazy time wasted in just answering yes for something that you really wanted to do. With Bim Link, you can edit those type parameters by exporting them and bringing them back, and just absolutely no question as it will show you all your changes. It will highlight them. So I really love it. Another one that I had found love with is the X-ray one, because that's kind of like what I do, like just troubleshoot. And my number one question is always, I can't see this in Revit. So with that one, you can absolutely unhide, and it actually will tell you all the reasons why it was hiding place, or the 33 reasons why it's not being shown. I don't know. I love them all. I love Sticky. I don't use it that much. I rather use the data in the Revit model. I truly believe in one source of truth. However, with Sticky, you can get like a very sophisticated look on your schedules because it will look just like the ones you have in Excel. So I like that. And then I fell in love with all the sheet managing ones. So that's why I decided to show those. But absolutely, Bim Link is my top one.
Fantastic. And actually, we had a follow-up from the same person. How does Genzer help folks learn about Ideate Software? Do you guys have like an internal training program? They wanted to know for their sake.
Actually, you know, we always had lunch and learns. This year we launched two big training focus. One is called Mastering Monday. So every Monday we have a demonstration by different people in the firm using all the amazing tools that are out there and they're available to us. Of course, we don't have them all. And then we follow up with workshops on Friday on whatever it's talked on Monday. So we have gotten a really great turnaround on that sense. Our community is getting engaged. We're doing everything through Teams and we're recording it for all of those that cannot attend because they need to have family time or a break or a lunch. However, the recordings are there, so they can absolutely reach out. We're trying to be more engaged. A year ago, I made a promise. I wanted my studios to be 90% Bim Link, and I've been kind of traveling the word that way because I think I suffer for them because they are really taking a long time to do things that they could be done in less than 5 minutes, but Bim Link, all these tools come with responsibility. Please be very careful. You're going to touch every single element you're editing. So proper syncing, communicating, and making sure you double check your work before you bring it back. Super important because as well as you can do a very good thing by making a massive change. A massive change is probably something your eye is not going to catch. So take a minute, look at every single line, make sure that every change that is going to be imported actually makes sense. And then you press the button and think after.
Think after. I love that one.
Yes. Yes. Another great question, and I'm going to let Glennis address this one.
Okay.
So I'm going to put Glennis slightly on the spot. The question or comment is, you cannot clone or create a new RCP subset based on the floor plan subset, right?
Is that from Nancy?
No, actually, it's not. Nope, it's from Maria Tonkova.
All right.
And it's a great question. So
it is.
Go for it.
I am going to go for it.
All right.
Thank you, Maria, for that question. That question is one we've had from other people. And the example is copying, as you're saying, copying from a floor plan to make reflected ceiling plans is a great example. And I'm actually gonna pivot back over to this other data set because I think it's got some good examples that we can follow. Let's see. Yeah, so here's our on the lighting floor plan. I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm going to turn on the crop region. And there it is. And I'm just going to make an adjustment because we know we're all tweaking this stuff quite a bit. And that's part of the value, I think, of Ideate Software is we're trying really hard to know what you want when you think about copying something. Revit does a very sort of crude job. If I were to create a reflected ceiling plan right now from on level 1, it's going to be uncropped and the grids are going to be all generic, and I'm going to have to go back and sort of tweak it all to match, to make some kind of change. So here I'm going to just use View Creator to take, in this case, I'll do these lighting plans that I was working on earlier. And my goal is to make reflected ceiling plans. This hasn't been possible. What I'm showing you is what we're going to be shipping. So this is not currently possible, but we have added another method. So in this case, I can take these lighting plans here, and it's actually, I believe, down in here. It's these 3. And I'm going to duplicate it to another family, which Revit does not allow you to do. So this is not just changing the type of floor plan. This is changing it to a ceiling plan. So in this methodology, we would be able to simultaneously make three ceiling plans, and if I wanted to, the area plans at the same time, as an example. So we'll do both of those, which is sort of interesting.
This is super cool.
And so you can see here, again, the rule that you pick drives the naming convention. So you can make changes and decide kind of what you're trying to do here. I think using, in this case where I've got both the area plan and the ceiling plan, this makes the most sense. And the word copy here that you're seeing is actually also just part of the rule. It helps us make sure we don't have duplicates. And there's two ways you can get rid of that if you want. You can always just use a search. Here we go, copy. It is case sensitive, and I can just do that to get rid of them. But then you can see here, these already exist. So actually, having, a new, maybe I'll call this my lighting, and I should have done lighting plan. So lighting, and then copy with a space. I can do a replace. So then I can create those, and we'll see that, here's the area plans that are based on those. And I mean, that's not the best example, but hopefully that's what you meant. And that is something that we're enabling in the upcoming version, which we will plan on shipping in Q2 of this year.
Thanks for showing that, Glennis. I know Richard yesterday for the APAC presentation gave a little preview of that. So when this question came out, I'm like, ooh, this is the perfect time to talk about it. So,
Thank you.
And it looks like we have about 2 minutes left.
Yep.
And, we had a couple questions that related to, clone and view creation. Can we talk maybe just a moment about how, when you do, let's say, a clone of a view or anything like that, how do we handle some of the naming conventions and organization in the project browser? Because it's, there's a lot of things that we're tackling here when we do, let's say, use View Creator to, create views, or when we're using Clone to, clone sheets. These are all big, big things. And even looking at what you just showed here, where you're copying to another view type, basically, or another, from an RCP to a floor plan, there's a lot of things going on. Can you just maybe briefly talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. When we developed Clone, the purpose of Clone, of course, is to copy a sheet, which is a very basic concept that Revit doesn't let you do. We had to define, what would it mean to copy a sheet? And I think Tessa did a really nice job kind of talking about the things that are visible here, the choices that you can make, and sort of there's some defaults that we're doing. But there's actually a lot of things that we're not asking you because we're really sure that that's what you mean. And so in the example of a sheet, when we clone a sheet, we are also taking the title block, and we're saying, okay, on your new sheet, you want the same title block, right? And we're also saying any of those sheet-based properties that you're using, we're also going to be copying, right? So what that means is that, oops, that was me. That means that if you're using custom properties over here to maybe organize your project browser, not necessarily these, but some, if you had custom ones, we would also be controlling those and copying those so that the resultant sheet is going to end up without the question mark. It's going to end up really being kind of a more true copy of that sheet because we're managing all of that information in the background. So that's in a nutshell. And I know we're at the top of the hour, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you all for attending. I am going to have Sash run it at the last poll. If you have time to hang out and answer the last poll, that would be great. We are always trying to make this user group engaging by recruiting people like Sarah and Tessa today who are willing to share their experiences. I know that's so much more interesting than hearing, Sash and Richard and I speak. So the last poll question is about one of the topics we are going to cover, because someone's already volunteered to speak next time. But one of the people is going to speak about using Excel and using, they're actually going to show how they're using pivot tables. Like Sarah today mentioned using macros, but one of the speakers is going to be showing, here's how I use pivot tables with Bim Link data to solve, I think it's like an area scheme sort of workflow that they are involved with. And so I would be curious to know kind of what other data processing tools, if any, that you're currently using. We know obviously a lot of us are using Excel, but we're getting more and more people who are doing more and more sort of creative things with data. So it'd be great to kind of get your feedback on that, and post, Sash, whenever you're ready, you can post the feedback that we do have.
9 more seconds, so we have 60%. Yeah, I have to.
No worries.
Yep. 3, 2, 1. All right, I think this will be a good sampling, and here is what I'm going to share.
Nice.
So you can see the results here. So we have most people using Excel, and then a mix of kind of other databases, Power BI, other. And for those that are other, maybe type real quickly in the questions panel, let us know, what are these other data editing tools you're using? We'd love to know.
Can also remember, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question or comment, feel free to do that today.
Fantastic. And then Glennis, while we're, before we go, there's one other question that came in that I feel like if we have just a minute, because it shouldn't take more than a minute, is there a workflow to globally change the viewport type in multiple sheets in order to change the view title format? So do you want to touch on that? Maybe Bim Link or Style Manager? Do you want to just talk about that for a moment?
Globally change the viewport types. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great question. So just to be clear, we're talking about this, right? This is the viewport. So like this one happens to be titled with line. For whatever reason, there's a German one in here, but so the choice would be like, maybe I want them all to be viewport 1. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. I think what comes to mind for me is actually Explore. Anytime I'm trying to do something where I'm swapping types and it's real broad like that, you can use Explore, or you could use Bim Link, kind of depending on what you're doing. So viewports are a thing that are part of Explore. So you can see here, this is the current usage of them. So you could grab everything here, and then you could say, I want to make them all viewport 1. So to me, that's the quickest way to make that kind of change. I don't know if you had anything different that you wanted me to show, but that's.
I think that's a perfect example. And if you really want to do the in-depth, analysis and even purge out, the viewport types, then, that's where I kind of like Style Manager, for that.
For purging, yeah. So swapping the ones that are in use, that is definitely, you can do what I just showed there, but getting rid of viewports that aren't in use sometimes is oddly difficult. So this one, for example, is actually being used by Sheet Manager. That's a great use. We can control within Sheet Manager you can actually pre-control which viewport is being used. So in this case, it's telling you that. But you could get rid of the viewports that are unused by using Style Manager as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Glennis. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, we should wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. Please do fill out the survey if you get a chance. We'd love to hear from you. We also would love to maybe have your participation next time as a short presentation. That would be wonderful. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.